Right. So, we should be streaming. Are we streaming? I've got no idea. Let me just quickly check. Should be streaming on YouTube. Hold on. I'm a bit rusty. People. Daily Brexit. Although it's Daily Chaos, but I haven't changed the name on YouTube yet.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. Because it's a world of Ordo ab chao. Oh, and here we are. Oh, 5 people are watching already. God bless you. Wow. Why? It's a world of Ordo ab chao. Right. Oh, and here we are. So we're working. Okay, good. Oh, that's Piers. Piers is on there. He's coming up. Yeah, Piers is coming up. And there we go. All right, good. Fantastic. Right, coming up in 10 minutes, people. 10 minutes. You're early. So am I. There we go. Unlike Brexit.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother.
Well, that's nice, isn't it? That's nice. Otis McDonald. Copyright free. Yeah. Copyright free, YouTube. Yes. Not going out on Facebook tonight. Can't be bothered. Too much Cleggbook. So it's all YouTube. Hey, Craig Brexit and English Patriot. God bless you. Please share, yeah. Like and subscribe and all that stuff and tell you and all that. Hey, Lynn. Oh, I can see you. Right, yeah. Viscounts and Davids, Bubba Kate Paris and Piers Garnham coming up in about 7 minutes. Just a test. absolutely awful. Oh no, that's no better. Right, 4 minutes. Oh, absolute crap. Oh, for crying out loud. Let's have some half decent music. Oh, here we go. 4 minutes, people. 4 minutes. 4 minutes. Please share, yeah. For crying out loud, share the damn thing. It's like waiting for a punchline. Hey, Wolf Cat, God bless you. Tanis. Hey, Paul Rees Ham. Oh. I got banned from Twitter today. They kicked me off. Oh, who's that? That's old Piers. Oh, hold on.
No, I got the day off.
Piers.
Got a meeting in.
Oh,
hello, mate.
You had a day off, you lazy git.
Yeah.
Oh, they're going to have a few days off at Parliament, aren't they? Oh, no. We're going to be kind tonight. No mocking the depraved. The deprived. Going to be good. Going to be very English about this. Don't kick a man when he's died. Kick him in the Bercows. Oh, there you go. Doobie-doo. Rodders?
Ollie?
Good evening, sir. How are you doing?
Hey, not too bad. Yourself?
Yeah, pretty good. One minute.
Hey, brothers, how you doing? You all right? You're looking very well. You're looking sun-tanned and,
I'm so looking wild and woolly, having spent the weekend in Wales.
Oh, mate, you should have been Bar Ritz with the club.
Well, in Brexit supporting Pembrokeshire, of course.
Oh, very well, good. Beautiful part of the world, actually.
Yeah, well, that's where my father's family originally sort of from.
Oh, blimey, we're running late. Hold on. Oh, we're definitely running late. Oh, no, and I haven't sorted out. Hold on. Oh, blimey. Bubba Kate Paris. Bubba, give us a shout.
Kids.
Yeah, well, the thing is,
What do you think this is, a social?
Go on, here.
Hang
on there.
Oh, goodness sake. Just a sec. Hold on. How do I get my other might as well tell us about your holidays. The music's all tits up. Hold on. Oh, that's Wolfcat calling in. Oh, Wolfcat, God bless you. Okay, call in then. Call in. Wolfcat! Wolfcat! Hello? Hold on. You'll have to wait. You'll have to wait. It might be a bit chaotic tonight. I'm just saying.
I'm totally fine.
Suspended next month after the Prime Minister successfully secures the Queen's approval, setting himself on a collision course with opposition parties. It'll now close.
I've got Mark Wahlberg in the background crying in Patriots Day on film 4, the Boston bombing.
We need new legislation.
We've got to be
bringing forward new and important bills. And that's why we are going to have a Queen's speech.
I might have to go and top my glass up, actually. I like... What's that in the background? I can see a bottle behind you, Rollins. What is that? Come on, man. I mean, like, you know...
Oh, you're on the piss again, are you?
It's got nothing in it.
Also on the program tonight.
Good evening, good people. And welcome to the Daily Chaos. 2 out of 3 guests. Good start. Oh, hold on. Something's going on. Sophie Rayworth.
Good evening. Boris Johnson has successfully secured the Queen's approval to suspend Parliament for more than 4 weeks next month. The current parliamentary session
we could still hear you.
Earlier than expected, shortly after MPs return from their summer break.
Oh, yes. We know about it. We know about it, darling. We know about it. Right, okay. Welcome to the Daily Chaos. Showing daily, but I don't know, the chaos is. Right, okay, so fine. I think we're going out on YouTube, yeah. And I've got Viscount St David's and I've got Piers Garnham here.
Ollie, your microphone's playing up, mate. It's cutting in and out. You're not clear at all. We can barely hear you.
Really? Is that any?
There must be something wrong.
Is that any better? I can hear Wolfcat there. Wolfcat's called in too.
Better now.
I had BBC News on, which always distracts from the main event, and that's what they're paid to do. So anyway, I mean that actually to me is a good way. It's a good way to start the show. I kind of wonder if the next move, if Boris is true to the way he's sent out his stall so far, he presumably is going to be cutting the BBC to the bone and saying you either stick up for your country, i.e. British Broadcasting Corporation, or else you're Brussels Broadcasting Corporation and you might as well bugger off. And why should we pay for your crap? I mean, you know what? Viscount St David's, maybe you'd like to kick off and tell us what you think about that.
Well, do you know what? I think it's thoroughly objectionable to have to pay a license fee for something you don't necessarily want. And when it calls itself, it's an oxymoron. The British Broadcasting Corporation, well, it's a broadcasting corporation, but it's not necessarily representative of Britain. So they can bugger off for a start.
Thank you.
And frankly, you know, whilst I do like David Attenborough, I think the only thing of any value, which is impartial, is the weather forecast. Yeah, the shipping forecast.
Ooh.
There'll be 3 knots over, Bollock Bay and God knows what.
Oh no!
The fishermen can rely on.
Oh no! We got the weather. We got the weather earlier. We got the weather. And now the weather. And while Brussels continues to be consumed by dense fog, there's a weather warning over the BBC newsroom where blanket snow is causing havoc. with a high risk of avalanches, earthquakes, and floods of tears. Piers, what's your take?
Today, Ollie, oh my word!
Go on, Wolfcat.
The Alps are above the clouds.
The Alps?
Pilot will tell you that.
The Alps? What, the elites, their ivory towers are above the clouds?
Wrong. And they are actually paintings that have been done in 1700, 1800 something, where the Alps, the glaciers, are shown totally free of snow. And I tell you what, this old grufti, as we call them, the Lord will tell you that these paintings do exist, where London, the Thames was frozen during the small ice age.
Good Lord.
Well, it used to freeze over in the 19th century. I mean, there are plenty of pictures painted in Dickens' time, but people are skating. People are skating on the Thames by Tower Bridge.
That's right.
They weren't just skating; they had markets on there all winter long.
Who?
Markets.
Who did that?
Sorry, why are we talking about the Thames freezing over? Sorry, I
don't know. I think that Theresa May's frozen over.
Talking about
snowflakes are there.
Dominic Greaves frozen over. I think that Ken Clark's probably frozen over by now. It's grievous, isn't it? It's grievous. You've got to feel. Look, you know what? Actually, from the top of the show tonight, from
York and Stromboli started to erase itself. Well, they want to be happy that it wasn't Popocatépetl.
Who? What?
Popocatépetl.
Who on earth was that?
That's the volcano in South America. And I would like to see the BBC trying to spell that.
I don't even know how many syllables it's got, let alone how to spell it. Look, you know what? I want to say...
It's just one word. Popocatépetl.
Hippopotamus.
And the Viscount will totally agree with me that Edinburgh is being built on a dormant volcano.
That's Nicola Sturgeon's chip on her shoulder. It's not a volcano.
Okay.
Have you been on the Newcastle Brown Ale?
Wolfcat, you're gorgeous. We love you.
I don't need any Newcastle Brown Ale to know all that.
She's German. She's German, is our Wolfcat. She's German, and she's one of us.
I'm tell you how we are being fooled about climate change, and the Earth is changing all the time. And all this thing about Extinction Rebellion. Well, aren't we glad
you want to be careful of that. I hope you're eating your locusts.
Well, actually, Wolfcat, you have a point there.
Are you eating your locusts?
Extinction of the remorons.
You've got to be eating your locusts. That's the bottom line. If you're not eating your locusts, then you're not patriotic. It's as simple as that. We've got to stop eating the beef.
I think I'm more patriotic than most Britons, actually.
I know you are. No, we've got to stop eating the locusts. I mean, we've got to stop eating the beef, and we've got to start eating the locusts. Look, I want to say at the top of the show tonight, because it's been an exciting day, and we might, be tempted to, I don't know, get a bit excited or something. The bottom line is, we've got to be good, yeah? I mean, you don't kick a man when he's down, yeah? And these poor remorons, they've really had a bad day. They've had a rough day, and they some of them might be watching this show, particularly from Cheltenham, yeah, MI5 way. And so we've got to be kind. We can't, just give them a big old hard time. I'm very
sorry. I've got to interrupt. I have to interrupt you.
Go on, Wolfcat.
I have seen footage today of Angela Merkel when he's President Trump, the President of the United States, yeah?
Yes.
Donald Trump is visiting Germany at the moment. And Angela Merkel sat next to him when he explained that he's got German roots and British and German blood, right?
He's got German blood? I thought he was Scottish blood.
Trump
or Greenland or something.
German blood. Yeah, absolutely. He's from the South. And he said that to Angela Merkel, and Angela Merkel just, you should have seen the way she's done that. She was just completely dismissing it. She was laughing about it, as if she was to say, that no longer exists anymore, you moron. Do you know what I mean? No head of state should treat another head of state like that. Do you agree?
Probably, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Do you agree, Piers?
It's disgusting because us Germans, we took decades since 1945 to build up our reputation to be nicey, and that woman, that old bat with a fat ass, is ripping it all down.
Wolfcat, I beg to differ. Evolution normally takes many millions of years. I don't think that 100 years in the case of Germany. And let me refer you to a very simple fact. 5,500 German extradition warrants of arrest have been cancelled by the European Court of Justice based on a law that was passed by the Iron Chancellor Bismarck in 1887 that gave subjugation of the courts to the local politicians. Now, it's taken over 100 years, 2 world wars, God knows how much economic and war devastation for us to actually recognise that the Germans are the most corrupt race really known to man.
Good Lord.
And that's a tough.
Oh, that's right. Then who was Oswald Mosley? Was he German?
He was a lunatic with no hair.
Thank you.
Sorry, gents. I probably.
It's all right. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good.
I could argue with you, I think, till doomsday, Mr. Viscount, but I would always be
Mr.
right.
Viscount.
Nice. Right. Okay, good. Right, so I've got no idea what happened to Bubba Kate Paris. I'm trying to work that out. I'm just having a quick look and seeing what's going on in the world of nonsense. And hold on a sec. There you go. We got the SAG. The SAG, and that's Ruth Davidson. She's quit apparently, or she's about to quit. She wants to quit. She might quit. Who knows?
Does that, if she quits, that means Boris has lost his majority, doesn't it? And what happens? Now next if she's gone?
Well, Piers, it depends what she's quitting from. She can quit as leader of the Conservative Party in Scotland, but that's not the same as quitting as an MP, which would cause a by-election.
Right.
There's a very good question in the chat at the moment by Jesus Jones. Why would Germany go against Britain with royals as Germans? No wonder they changed their name. Ha!
Well, the Saxe-Coburg
Gotha, wasn't it?
That's
Gotha.
Hold on a sec. Let's hear what they're spouting on the beeb. Let's just have a listen.
To the Hanovers.
Hold on.
You know what?
Wolfcat.
The head of the whole clan.
Oh, never mind all that. That's all old hat. Hold on a sec, Wolfcat. Let's hear what they're saying tonight. Hold on.
Choose to vote for independence if there were to be another Scottish referendum. And of course, remember, Ruth Davidson
sounds like a chicken in
there. Passionate advocate for keeping the UK
you might
together.
not be able to.
Without her leadership in the Scottish Conservative Party, they might struggle to make their voices heard.
I can't hear it either, Olly.
Blimey, that's Mark Conway as well.
This is what the next few weeks
that's
could
Sophie
look like.
Rayworth.
The MPs return to Westminster on Tuesday. They'd normally have...
Piers. All right, Rodders.
Okay, that's
Good
not
evening,
going to work. That's clearly not going to work. Bugger the
will now be
BBC
taken up
News.
with-
I mean, the bottom line is, they're spinning it. They're desperate. I don't know if you've been watching BBC News today, but it's hilarious. I mean, these folks are on heat with their passion to, I don't know, bow to the god that is George Soros or something. I mean, it's just absolutely incredible. Abject morons. The way they.
But I love the way
today,
they twist it and say it's completely anti-democratic. What's happened?
Can I let you into a little
hold on. Explain that. No, Wolfcat, one sec. Piers, please explain what you mean there. Please explain what you mean.
Well, my understanding is we had a referendum, which the majority of people voted to leave the EU, and yet we have 3/4 of parliamentarians, in revolution.
Oh, you're
against
such a fascist.
The people.
You're such a right-wing fascist.
The BBC have now that Boris has prorogued Parliament, they're saying that it's one of the most anti-democratic things that's ever happened. When I just don't understand the logic of their thinking. I mean, I've had several repartees, from Remainers on Facebook today, sort of, trying to come up with some sort of salient argument about the reason why it's anti-democratic, and it just logically makes no sense in my head whatsoever.
Okay.
I mean,
just hold that thought. Hold that thought. We've got Gina Miller. We've got Gina Miller, who clearly is more important than you. And she's spouting off. Let's have a quick listen and see what she's got to say. You've got an interesting point there, Piers, but you're clearly a misogynistic, fascist, right-wing pillock who doesn't deserve to be listened to. So let's listen to Gina Miller instead, just for a sec, just for fun, just for kicks.
Will now be taken up with the Chancellor Sajid Javid's statement on government
spending. Oh, come on, get on with it, Sophie bloody Rayworth, for crying out loud.
I can't. None of us can hear anything, so we can't comment on
you can't, but the other folks can. Hold on.
He's hijacking the Queen's prerogative
power. Hijacking.
Telepathic.
And I think that is what
Can you do the sign language, Ollie?
Shocking about this is that it's a very cowardly way of using these powers.
Hold on, everybody.
Constitutional convention.
Apart from Gina Miller.
Our unwritten constitution is a bit like a gentleman's agreement.
River Thames is flooding with all the snowflakes melted.
She's so full of it, isn't she? She's so full of it. The irony is that if it wasn't for Gina Miller, we wouldn't be where we are, i.e. getting Brexit.
Well, I tell you, Ollie, I can tell you this. If it wasn't for Gene Miller, I wouldn't have a criminal record.
You wouldn't have gone to prison.
You know what? I tell the German people that, in German schools, they're now being taught things like, ooh, look at this funny man in this funny robe and all this, knocking on the door, asking for exit.
Who's that? Lord Mandelson. Are they talking about Lord Adonis?
Sorry?
Who are they talking about? Mandelson with his ferret?
No, they're talking about the House of Parliament, about the rituals.
Oh.
Do you know?
Oh.
When
big Rod.
when the knocking on the door of the House of Parliament and all of this.
Black Rod.
And they just go and ridicule it in German schools. And when I ask any of them and say, listen, how old is your democracy in Germany now, which is also my democracy, they say, oh yeah, from 1948. I said, well, you've scored high then. Ours is several hundred years old.
Well, that's rich coming from a country that lost 2 world wars in 100 years.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, Mr. Viscount. I'm more British than you.
Mr. Viscount.
That's possible.
Rude. Mark P. Conway, what would you like to say, sir?
Well, I'll tell you what, Anna Soubry, doesn't she talk shite? She's waffling all
just be direct. Just be
she's
direct,
so
man.
Funny. Listen to the rubbish she's talking on the TV today.
What's she been saying? What has she been saying? Hold on, Wolfcat. Mark P. Conway, what has that Soubry woman been saying today?
Oh, she says that is against democracy. She says she will fight for her constituents and she'll fight for the workers and.
Hold on. Okay. Whoa. Mark. Let me just stop you there. One sec. Let me just stop you there. She fought on a Tory manifesto that said it would honour the Brexit, the referendum. She comes from a constituency that voted to leave. She left the Tory party and joined, I don't know, the Chuck Up party or something or other, the leader of which has since left, and she never had the decency to suggest, oh, you know what, maybe I should have a by-election because my constituents maybe should have a choice as to whether or not I should still represent them. And now she is saying, sorry, what did you say she was saying today, Mark?
It's undemocratic.
Oh, bless.
Where's
my puke button?
The Green Party in Germany, right?
The Greens? Oh no, Caroline Lucas. Right, okay. Caroline Lucas. Now, so she wants to form what? An all-female, all-white cabinet, and she reckons that is the answer to Brexit. Is that correct? And also the Greens,
no.
By the way, are sponsored by the EU. No?
No chance.
I'm sorry, Caroline. I'm sorry. You're not cutting it. You're not cutting it, girl. Carry on, Wolfcat.
Well, sorry.
All I can say, Ollie, is that the people that's outside Parliament now, you've got more viewers than what's there, and they're all melting. They need psychologists down there to go and give them some treatment or something, because they're all distressed and everything. they're gonna have to Brexit now, and God knows what's going to happen to your show, Ollie.
Wait. Can we actually break down in detail how we see what will happen next week when they return to Parliament? What do we actually envisage happening? What do we see the consequences of that being? And then how do we move forward once Parliament is then prorogued? I mean, I've been reading a few articles, various papers today. I'm still not 100% clear on it, and I need those that are a bit more well informed and wiser than myself to inform me.
He's
about
very
what's
sensible,
going to
is
happen.
our Piers. He's very sensible. This is a good idea. This is a good idea.
Will start, and they'll have 4 weeks to reply. After the 4 weeks, it'll be too late. That's what will happen, and then God knows how many litigations will come through. They'll start it left, right, and centre, and trying to be desperate cruel. There's going to be all sorts of firing around, left, right, and centre. All kinds of stories, load of bullshit as usual, and the snowflakes are just going to melt out even more, and we're going to get out of Europe. Go on.
But Piers, I may be mistaken in what I'm about to say, but my belief is that proroguing Parliament is different. There's a subtle difference to suspending Parliament in advance of a Queen's speech.
That's the legal loophole that Boris has obviously thought
about. It's resignation, isn't it?
No, it's not. When you have a new administration, the government has the ability to suspend Parliament in advance of announcing a new government programme.
That's right.
Which makes sense.
Proroguing
Out with the old,
is another word for that.
In with the new.
And it's normal.
And in actual fact, I think tactically what Boris has gone for this is not proroguing Parliament. So these people saying that that's the case, it's not. I don't think Parliament's been prorogued for 400 years, but Parliament has frequently been suspended.
No, it has. It was prorogued under John Major's government, actually, for about 10 times as long as is Boris Johnson proroguing Parliament this time.
Well,
and John Major
Ollie,
did it because he was trying to cover up the expenses scandal, the MP's expenses scandal.
Ollie, you're using the word prorogue, which is not the same as suspending Parliament.
Okay, carry on. Yeah.
There's a technical difference, I believe.
John Major's, he prorogued, as I understand it. And as I understand it, you prorogue every time there is a Queen's speech because it has to be done. Well, and the only difference this time is that Boris Johnson has prorogued by a few more days than is perhaps accepted or is the norm. That doesn't mean it's right or it's wrong. It's just that this year things are so sensitive and time is so tight for these anti-democrats to screw up Brexit that it is more controversial amidst the newsroom that is the BBC. But actually Boris Johnson...
It's the right thing to do.
Whoa. Boris Johnson, as I understand it, and this is a kind of a rhetorical question, has been very clever because what he's done has been to say, you guys are having your party conferences anyway, aren't you? ? And therefore, I'm just proroguing you for the duration of the time that you're having your party conferences anyway, at which time you will not be available to disrupt Brexit anyway. But no, hold on. Let me finish my rant. My question, it's a big, long question to the Viscount. Because I think he might understand the procedure. I don't know. I hope so. My question really is he not being very clever here? Because he is basically stumping any ambition that there may be to suspend party conferences, and instead of those party nonsense, like, I don't know, projectile whatnots. Instead of that, they might decide to go back to Parliament and cause a problem and create legislation that is, Brexit unfriendly and all the rest of it. He has stumped that ambition by saying prorogation during the duration of your party conferences, which you were going to have anyway, weren't you? ? Which they may not have done. And actually, I wonder, and the chatter was, as I understand it, that they would have suspended many of them, including the Lib Dems, as I understand it. They were talking about stopping their party conferences, and instead of which going back to the chamber to try to disrupt Brexit.
Of course they would. This is one of the most vital periods in British history.
He has scuttled that project. So is it not very clever?
The answer is yes. Everything Boris has done is entirely reasonable. We have a new administration. He's a new prime minister, so he's entitled to bring forward, in a Queen's speech, new government business. He's also pointed out that the current session of Parliament actually is one of the longest on record at 300 days. So it's not unreasonable, in actual fact, to suspend Parliament for the purpose of a Queen's speech. And Olly, you're also absolutely spot on. Basically, he's put a condom on the party conferences, in the sense that they're kept in one place, and it's not unreasonable because it's the conference season. It's like, guys, what are you going to complain about? And when some of these folks go banging on about, oh, you haven't left us enough time, it's like, hang on a sec, you've had. Hi, Kate, looking gorgeous as ever.
Hi, good evening, all.
Hey, Casey. Casey, just a sec, darling. Go on, Viscount.
So the point being, a lot of comment. Boris has not left us enough time to respond. It's like, hang on a sec. We've had 3 years of this. There must come an end to every process, and I think the timing has worked out brilliantly for Boris. And what he's done is it can't be faulted. And of course, you're going to get the remorons who'll go bleating that, oh, well, it's all a sinister trap. And what was interesting is Guy Verhofstadt's comment was exactly that this move is sinister. Now, when you're talking to a great grandson of Nosferatu, for him to say something is
hold on, the great grandson of who?
Nosferatu.
Who on earth is that?
The Dracula, it's another name.
Original Dracula.
Can I ask a question to the Viscount, please? Because
you can in a sec. You can in a sec, Wolfcat. Just bear with us a sec. Carry on, Viscount, please.
So yeah, everything procedurally is in order. For anyone to appeal it is nonsensical, and the timing couldn't be better. To actually, it just fits in. And of course, Boris has his own agenda of new government business that you call a Queen's speech as soon as is practicable. If you put Brexit to one side, if Brexit didn't exist, it would be unusual for a prime minister not to call a Queen's speech at 2 months after or 6 weeks after his appointment.
Wow.
Can I interject here? Do you think Boris genuinely wants to get us out, or is he going to give us some sort of fudged version of May's deal? What's your?
Oh, good question. Because that's the unanswered question of all of what we've seen. The one question that remains. Oh dear, I hate using that word, but is Boris going to end up fudging the withdrawal agreement minus the backstop? Because that still is not acceptable, is it?
I don't think
it's about that, Ollie.
I think he's boxed himself, in particular with the appointment of his advisors and his cabinet. He's already stated that, guess what? The actual liability that we owe Europe is 9 billion. So the 30 billion on top is almost like a freebie. And he said, we're not going to pay it. And he's now that he's singularized the actual liability at 9 billion, it's almost cutting his political wrists to fudge the existing deal. And it's of note that it was Rees-Mogg who went to meet Her Majesty this morning in Balmoral to ask for the suspension of Parliament. You got what's his name, Dominic Cummings in the background.
Yeah.
You got the ERG around Boris. This is his moment of glory, and I don't think he's going to want to waste it. If he fudges it, there'll be a general election looming soon, he has the opportunity to be Churchillian, which has always been his ambition.
He does, yeah.
May I interject? I don't know what you were talking about.
Okay, we've got Bubba Kate Paris here as well, who doubtless is going to give the UKIP NEC a hard time in a minute too, and I hope so, because they deserve it. Bubba, what would you like to say, darling? Hold on a sec, Wolfcat. Bubba, what would you like to say, please?
Oh, I was going to say, like, they have been talking about calling a vote of no confidence and possibly trying to get a general election that way. What do you think the likelihood of that being successful is? I don't think it's looking that likely, but it seems that they're grasping at straws, and this is one of the suggestions I've heard throughout the day from some of the unhappy Romaniacs. So I don't know whether you've discussed it yet, but what's the likelihood, do you think, that may happen before no deal or a changed deal could go through?
Hold on, what's the likelihood of what?
Of a vote of no confidence being called.
Oh, well, yes. Go on. Okay, yes, Rodders.
There's nothing to stop a vote of no confidence being called, but there is a procedure for it in the event that it goes against Boris, and then you've got a lot of scrabbling around for 14 days, etc. You've still got suspension of Parliament. So, as a last stage desperation tactic, it is conceivable, but I don't think actually it's practical.
I mean, surely, God. I mean, there's so many MPs must be worried about losing their jobs. I mean, how many conservative MPs that have gone against majority vote of their constituents, are worried about losing their jobs? I mean,
presumably, yeah.
80%. You know what I mean? Yeah, precisely. I mean, the majority of Tories are Remainers, aren't they? And the majority of the electorate who vote Tory are Leave. So and they're not putting up alternative candidates in these constituencies. If there was a general election, I assume that the Tories haven't got alternative candidates that are pro, Leave. So the current incumbents are surely quaking in their boots about losing their jobs. Surely that must have some sort of reflective, kind of
makes you wonder how much they're getting paid off by the likes of Soros.
In a vote of no confidence, because they've been cutting off their faces cutting off their noses
unless they're getting paid a lot of money in their back pockets. And you know what? That would not surprise me, because there's not that many of them. There's not that many to pay off. And I really seriously wonder that, because the number of them, let's just go through the figures again. 408 of 650 constituencies voted to leave. 62.8% in terms of the general election, an absolute landslide. An enormous landslide. You imagine a political party getting 62.8% of the vote? I don't think it's ever happened. An incredible amount, yeah.
I think that's Boris going Olly.
Well,
I think Boris is going on the Brexit route. Yeah, he's all Brexit. But I think that's why he's in America, to get America online, to selling out our companies, get them in here, get all the next Brexit voters on side of the Conservatives.
Wolfcat, hold on. We can't all talk over each other. Sorry, please carry on, Mark. Mark?
No. Yeah, I think Boris, he's jumping on this. Yeah, he wants us out. But I think that he's looking to get the Brexiteers back onto the Conservatives party, so then they can get their votes back in and call an election, hoping that they'll get their seats, save their asses. But I think he's over in America selling our ass to Trump. I think he's going to come back with all kinds of deals that, whilst we all go, yeah, we want a Brexit, we want a Brexit party in there. Sorry, not Brexit party, but Conservatives, because they want us out. Then he's going to go, the sideline of that is going to be, well, we're going to sell our ass back to the Americans with some kind of deal, the TTIP, all that kind of thing. I just think it stinks, some of it.
So, sorry, Mark, it's something actually which is very relevant to a bit of work I've been doing recently.
Can I ask a question now, please?
Just a sec. You can in a sec, Wolfcat. Just let's carry on with this thread and not go off topic. Just for a sec. You can in a sec. Wolfcat, you can in a sec. Let's not go off topic. Please. Let's try and string up. Let's have an organic conversation. What did you want to say in response to Mark, please? I've actually
written a paper for one of Boris's advisors. And it's when we negotiate with America, in actual fact, we should negotiate not just the UK, but the Great Britain, United Kingdom, and the Commonwealth. And it's very important for two very important reasons. There is a race against the Chinese right now for the development of mineral and natural resources. Now, if you look at our relationship with our 53 Commonwealth partners, being Britain be the gateway, in actual fact, to access American capital for important resources to develop these countries, which of course is extremely useful to cauterize China from America. And in developing those markets, in the medium term, all of a sudden, if there is at some point a trade war with Europe, it cauterizes us against Europe. It's essential that Boris negotiates with America, not just on behalf of the United Kingdom, but the Commonwealth as well.
I'm so on your line with the Commonwealth. I'm absolutely so on your line on the Commonwealth. That is the genie in the bottle.
Yeah, absolutely. And it hasn't been highlighted yet.
Can I just add a caveat? I mean,
and everybody else, and you would say, oh yeah, you with your Commonwealth, look how far they are away. Well, if it wasn't for Greta Thunberg, they would be very close.
Greta Thunberg? Hold on a sec. Greta Thunberg, yeah. Apparently, according to the BBC, she just got across the Atlantic today to New York, and she's telling us all what a wonderful eco warrior that she is, and all the rest of it. You know what? That boat that she went across there is made of microfiber, and microfiber. Microfiber has a massive carbon footprint.
Listen, never mind. 16-year-old.
Hold on, Wolfcat, for crying out loud, shut up. Right, microfiber. When you produce microfiber, it absolutely is earth destroying in terms of the pollution that it creates. That's point one. And point two is that to get that boat back from New York to Europe, when she declined to take a flight across to New York, decided instead to shit in a bucket all the way across the Atlantic. Yeah, try not to chuck up and do a chuck up party with Anna Soubry and all that. And so she went off to there. When she gets over to New York, she will fly back, and two people will fly over to New York to pick up that boat and bring it back to Europe. In other words, instead of there being two flights, there are three flights. There is an extra flight, in other words, plus microcarbon bloody fibre being produced and all the rest of it as well. So that Thunberg, or whatever she is, who's 16 or whatever, abject moron, she needs to go back to school and do some maths. And by the way, if you're going to take a boat, I suggest you take a slow boat to China and have a chat with the Chinese, because if you don't sort out their carbon footprint, you ain't going to sort out any carbon footprint anywhere. Ciao. Right.
Imported from Sweden is ABBA, IKEA, and the sweet balls, the meatballs from IKEA restaurant, and clogs, and that should be it.
No, Wolfcat, I disagree. Ask any schoolboy. Swedish porn was a basic tenet of education.
Right, okay, all right.
Listen, what I wanted to add about America was...
I've got a question. I would read it. It burns on my tongue for the last hour or so now, right?
Sure.
And I need to ask you that.
Please.
Right. As you know, we have this...
They had no idea that I'd cut them all off. They didn't know.
What? Do you know?
I could just have a rant about that Greta Thunberg moron for the rest of the show, actually. But you know what? Let's have a listen.
And in there it said, as past tense, there was the column that said that if we notice that our government...
And anyway, they might give us some tips about Swedish porn.
The safety of our country, of our people, and of the rest of the people in the world, we should have the right to dissolve it. Now, the Grundgesetz, you know what I'm talking about, I presume?
It's constitutional law.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
Well, that has been altered over 2,000 times. And it's been altered, I happen to find out, 1,600 times since Merkel took over.
Good God.
So it hasn't been altered a lot of times since 2048, but since Merkel took over, it's been increasing in alterations.
Who?
Now the question I've got now to you.
What's the question?
Right,
okay, here we go. Here's the question.
And here comes the question. Just the British Constitution.
Better be a bloody good question.
As far as we have one, does that have a passage inside it that enables the British people to disable a government that is endangering them and their nation and their culture and everything else as a whole? Does that exist?
Well, that's a very good question, and it would take about 2 hours, I think, even to get.
Okay, all right.
To
Let's start with Bubba.
It's a very complex question.
Bubba Kate Paris, are you there?
I am here. I was
Right.
listening to your conversation about
What do we do? What are we supposed to do? You didn't fare very well with the UKIP NEC because presumably the only way to sort them out was to chuck a grenade into one of their meetings and to just basically completely take them out, because it doesn't seem that the membership of UKIP can take them out, and it actually is pretty much the same case with British democracy as a whole, is it not? Because the people cannot do anything about Parliament. We just fortunately have some PM who has a Chilean complex.
Kate, I'm just wondering.
Hold on.
How do you get on with Richard Brain?
Hold on, no, that's a question down the road.
Richard isn't a bad guy, bless him. He's just, landed in a pit of vultures, all trying to pick at the bones of UKIP's rotting carcass at this point. So, I feel a little bit sorry for him.
The reason I mentioned it is I was in a swimming pool with my daughter the other day, and a little head pops up with a bathing cap and goggles, and he said, "Rodders, how the devil are you?" I thought, who the hell is this? And it was Richard, because I've known Richard for some time. He's a good mate.
He's not a bad lad, bless him. I just think, he probably wasn't expecting what he's got himself in for. I mean, going to that meeting and just being told, no, you can't appoint the deputy that you stood on and you got a mandate of 53% of the vote, we're going to say that you can't have that. Even though Gerald's not actually gone through any form of formal disciplinary at all, so can't be even held in as a member in bad standing.
Kate, why have I got no camera? Why have you not got your camera turned on?
I have got a camera.
I can see you, Bubba.
I can't see you.
Have you got a boyfriend?
Why can't I
see you, Ollie? I'm like a little tiny face somewhere on my screen. The other two I can see quite well.
I can't see
you're
either
not
of you.
You're just a voice.
I can't see
you. I'm looking at those gleaming white gnashes of yours. Fantastic.
I can only see Rodri, and that's disappointing. I mean, he's a nice bloke, but I mean, let's face it. Right? Okay. I'll try and sort this out. I'll try and sort it out. Because otherwise, this show's not going to go anywhere if we've got a bit of Totti looking good or something. I mean, at the moment we've only got Rodri, having a drag of his fag or whatever. It's not much good. And then there's old Piers, who's sprawling on the couch. He's probably had a really dodgy pasta bake or something.
Well, to be fair, I did just put this dress on especially for the show. I was in leggings before.
Really?
You
should have left the leggings on.
Are you London-based?
I don't know. Sorry.
No, I'm based in Manchester. I'm a northern girl. I don't sound like it. I had to train the accent out of myself.
So am I, darling. So am I.
More intelligent
She's
when you
Northern
speak the Queen's
Germany.
English.
She's like about
Not
200
the
miles
dude,
north
but
of
Kate,
Baden-Baden.
Don't fool yourself. It didn't work for me.
Oh dear.
Is that a chat line there, Rodders?
Oh, I'll
Sorry?
tell you what, I can't sort the tech out.
You're
It's too
flattened by
difficult
the
to sort the
Northerners
bloody
today,
tech
aren't
out.
you?
How do you sort out the?
No, I want to
now I've
ask
got
a
the
question.
Skype thing
I
come
want to
up.
ask a question.
crying
How
out
much
loud.
influence do you think Donald Trump has, leverage-wise,
this is a good question.
over the UK in relation to the foreign intelligence documents and everything else he's got in relation to Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell and all that sort of stuff? Where you have the British establishment essentially by the balls, and he's using that as leverage and saying, if you don't get out and organise a proper big trade deal with the United States, then we're going to start releasing stuff that you do not want released. So he's using it as leverage, and it comes across in the mainstream as a sort of cordial relationship between Boris and Trump, saying, yeah, Boris is the man, he's the man for the job. And but how much is he actually sort of putting the clamp on Boris's nads and turning the screw, in terms of what he's got intel wise, for leverage? I think
that's pretty standard in politics. Of course, you're always going to get international interference. They're always going to want to protect their interests within that nation, and they always have an agenda, of course, to get as much as what they can and as much control, especially with allies. I think Donald Trump isn't an ally to worry about. From what I've seen with his presidential record, he's been quite good, and a lot of his policies and how he's acted, a lot of people are in support of Donald Trump here. And Donald Trump has always been in support of Brexit. It's not something new. When he got elected, he invited Nigel Farage over, and he's always been focused on a better relationship between Britain and the United States, which I'd imagine that special relationship kind of faltered a little bit when we entered into an illegal political government, that's set up in Brussels and is now trying to make its own army and basically got rid of our national sovereignty. I think Trump very much wants us to leave the European Union, and I think Trump very much wants to deal with the corrupt establishment. I mean, if we're going to go down conspiracy theories, you could say, is this Epstein thing and Prince Andrew, has that possibly put some pressure on the royals to, suspend Parliament for 5 weeks, I believe, which is kind of unheard of previously. I mean, you could go down the conspiracy route, but I think
she didn't have a choice. She has to do what
Let's talk about. Let's talk about.
But Piers, but put it this way. If another sex scandal involving Boris Johnson were to appear, how surprised are we? I mean, it's not exactly a stranglehold, is it?
Would you care? I mean,
I don't know.
In the case of
a scandal, it's just a bit of entertainment and a Mac cartoon on the front page of the Telegraph. It's like, which one is it this time?
Actually, that's
true, but
that's a very interesting little thing there, because if there was another sex scandal or some sex scandal or whatever with Boris Johnson, I wonder how much we would give a damn, as opposed to if it's Prince Andrew, who basically is like kind of hanging off the coattails of the taxpayers' back coat or whatever. Then we do care, don't we? That's interesting, though. We if it's a PM,
maybe
we don't
Trump
care.
in secret
If it's Prince Andrew, we do.
To Boris, I'm going to release footage of Andrew in what? How do you say? Oh God,
situation.
In flagrante delicto with underage teenage sort of American girls, I mean, let's face it, he was there, they've got footage of him answering the front door at Jeffrey Epstein's mansion, to some woman who they are saying
what's
is the
going on underneath that? Okay, Piers, what I've got a question for you, Piers. What is going on under that temple on Epstein's island, and what was the cement mixer doing on that island? That is a question for you. Direct question for Piers Garnham.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, it's all deeply suspicious, isn't it? I mean, I've heard various journalists say...
Has he covered up the bodies with cement?
I mean, the fact that the cameras were switched off and the body didn't look anything like Epstein, I think he's still alive. I think they've killed him off because it means that they can due process everybody else involved without having to delay now. I mean, if his lawyers would have held the whole thing up for as long as they possibly could, now that he's sort of officially dead, they can now take him to the civil court.
Do you think he is dead?
You know, everybody can launch their cases against him.
Do you think he's dead?
Do you?
Well, I tell you why. Let's go back to the British character. I mean the mainstream.
No, let's talk about Peter Mandelson. Why was Peter Mandelson in Epstein's book about 12 times, including his personal number and Ronaldo's number and his pet ferret? His pet ferret's mobile number, almost. I mean, not quite, but almost.
Ollie, let's not be too salacious. One of the longest running shows in London's theatre history.
Peter Mandelson's ferret.
We're British. A comical sex romp. Can you remember Burton Group? That was the chief executive was Sir Ralph Halpin in the 1980s. And when it broke, he'd had an affair with Fiona, a porn star, and he was 5 times the night.
Not Fiona Fullerton.
The share price doubled.
Gary Glitter, the BBC, and I tell you what, the BBC is being paid by the ARD and ZDF from Germany.
Oh no! Hold on a sec. Hold on, yeah. we got.
Going back to Germany.
No, that's all right. That's okay. They're our Teutonic cousins.
It is absolutely true. All you need to do is look at their thingamathing. They are being paid from there, absolutely.
Really? What evidence is there for that?
Yeah.
The BBC is being subsidised by a right-wing party in Germany.
No, that doesn't make sense. It's being subsidised by a right-wing party in Brussels.
By the ZDF and the ARD. And if you look at their, what's it called, summary, whatever, you know?
Yes. Right.
Then you would see it. You would see it. And it all boils down to the same flipping thing.
Follow the money. This is a Billy bonus edition, so it's meant to be reasonably light-hearted.
The BBC is not free.
Right.
Right? The BBC had Jimmy Savile, and they covered off Gary Glitter and everybody else.
Yeah, they did.
You know, here, what's this guy called from Australia who was painting with children?
Well,
Rolf Harris. Rolf Harris. Yeah, I mean, listen. I mean, there've been articles.
Independent.
There have been articles in the mainstream media about Mountbatten and his predilection for little boys recently, and obviously it was Jimmy Savile who he introduced to the royal family. So there are questions to be answered about certain relationships. I mean, Jill Dando.
Then I ask you, why did Cliff Richard never put a foot back into the country and sang at Wimbledon when it was raining since his estates got raided?
Maybe because he lost his umbrella.
Why don't these questions get answered?
Well, because there is a control mechanism in place, and I do genuinely believe they put people with questions.
How about you take the control mechanism off and investigate?
You can't.
That's what you would do to everybody else from us.
They murder people who get too close to this. I mean, I do believe Jill Dando had realised that there was a, VIP paedophile ring running at the BBC. And MI5 were, I believe MI5 were told to doorstep her and take her out.
We should know this.
Cleared up. Yeah. I tell you what, very quickly, question for the panel. This bloke Nick, Carl Beach, who was the accuser, who's been sentenced to 18 years in jail, do you think that sentence was too harsh or too lenient?
I think it was very harsh. Very harsh, considering he was, you know, I don't know. I mean, he had a lot of smoke around some of these characters. I mean, I'm not saying that the military bloke, that it was fair about him, but I think and who knows, maybe he was a fake about a lot of them. But on the other hand, I mean, 18 years, when you consider how much, okay, those guys in Rotherham, hold on, Wolfcat, you're a caller. Please respect
Carl Beach was a deliberately provocative.
I'm not sure if they can hear me. It was switched on.
Is that, hold on, that's Carl Millench, yeah? That's Carl Millench.
You cast doubt in the public arena.
Oh dear, I tell you what, this is a nightmare. This is a nightmare. We've got way too many people on here. Oh, blimey. We've got Carl Millench has called in. Carl, can you hear me? Carl? No, he can't. I don't know. I don't blame him either. Bubba, what's your take on the whole Savile thing versus Epstein? Because it seems to me that there's all these, like, you know, Prince Andrew's got all these questions to answer, but actually, you know what? What about Prince Charles, the heir to the throne? Never mind number, I don't know, 7 or 70 in line or whatever he is now, with a, you know, couple of ugly sisters below him or whatever. Never mind him. What about the heir to the throne, the next in line, who had all that with the necrophiliac stroke, paedophile stroke, serial rapist of incapacitated patients in, I don't know, wherever it was, you know, Woburn Green or wherever it was he was doing that thing, Stoke Mandeville. Where are the questions for Prince Charles? Never mind bloody Prince Andy. You tell me, what's the UKIP NEC position on Prince Charles and Savile?
Prince Andrew is nowhere in line to the throne now, so he's a very good person.
Hold on, Wolfcat, for crying out loud, woman! I'm cutting you off. I'm going to cut you off. How do I cut this woman off? Wolfcat, I love you, but you've got to be more respectful to other people talking. Please.
Okay, sorry, I apologise.
Good. Be quiet. Right.
Good evening, Ollie.
Katie.
Here's Carl.
Hold on, Carl. Bear with me. Katie, please. What's your take on this?
I mean, I would say that I do believe that there is paedophilia that goes on, not just, you know, on a street level, not just with the Muslim grooming gangs, but also institutionalized paedophilia within our establishments. I do believe that there has been mass cover-ups, and these are facts, you know, Jimmy Savile. And yes, he has been pictured with numerous members of the royal family, and people have been speaking about, you know, the dubious and questionable sexual practices of Prince Andrew and possibly other royals for quite some time, and people were told that that was just a conspiracy theory up until recently. You know, people talking about satanic ritual sacrifices and paedophile gangs that actually involve themselves in some rather weird practices on top of that. These people were seen as making it up. Now, you spoke about a guy, I think I've read about him, you said that his sentence was quite harsh. I mean, you'll have to just elaborate to make sure that I am talking about the correct
bloke that accused Ted Heath and Lord Bramall and
was proved to be false.
Yes, completely false. He cost the taxpayer £2 million because the word from up on high, Alison Saunders, was that the victim has to be believed. That was the policy. So there was no.
Well, that's not the policy they have now.
Yeah, but the point being, for a period of time, Alison Saunders said you must take the victim's word as sacrosanct. So it took discretion out of the hands of a seasoned detective who was obliged to follow up. And in actual fact, given the damage that this man has caused to so many lives, I constantly wrote to the General Attorney, actually appealing sentences, saying this is too lenient. Like the chap with the voodoo knife who got a 2-year suspended, and on appeal, actually I think there were several hundred people who wrote in, and he then got 3 years custodial. I think Carl Beach should have been facing a 25-year minimum sentence.
Oh, come on, murderers get out. People that kill people.
I would say, I'm saying this, and I, I would be quite angry at the guy, because when people make things up along this line, it discredits actual victims that have gone through very
that's true.
things. That's true. And it makes people not believe their stories, even when they are factual.
No smoke without fire.
Massively.
No, you're both right. You're both right. But maybe it was designed that way. Maybe it was designed to be an expensive show trial that was designed to fail in order to cast doubt on the establishment involved in any of this stuff. You know, Carl Beach was not a viable witness. You know,
people believe and then be proven to be a massive hoax, so that when stories come out about Epstein and other people,
it means that people are more likely to disbelieve or add less value to the evidence that is presented. I think Beach was used as a deliberate establishment tool designed to fail. He was a poor witness, you know, that they knew would fail, knew they wouldn't be able to present the proper evidence to convict anybody or actually bring any kind of. Why not? I mean,
Piers, do you know what?
Can I speak now, please?
Okay, Carl Milenge. God bless you, mate. What would you like to say?
You'll like this, Ollie. I love throwing a spanner in the works. We're talking about paedophilia. I was watching Bernard Manning, a guy I've seen in his embassy
Bernard Manning? Go on.
Bernard Manning, many years ago. And I was watching it on YouTube only this week, right? Cyril Smith was on it, and Mike Reid. Yeah, and they're talking about how great Bernard Manning was before he passed away. Cyril Smith actually said, I have to go to YouTube now because it won't play on the BBC, will it? But you got to go to YouTube for it. Cyril Smith said he had his personal number to Bernard Manning and asked him how he's getting on. And they were talking and chatting. Can you not make the connection, meet the dots?
What are you saying? Are you saying that Bernard Manning was a paedophile?
No,
hold on, whoa, Viscount, 1 sec. What are you? Oh wow! I've just got Kate. I've just got Kate on the screen. Last, the show is worth watching. Right? Okay, carry on, Carl, please. You were saying, do you think that Bernard Manning was a paedophile?
This is the BBC. You're talking about the BBC. I actually thought we were going to sit about what's going to talk about what's just gone on in the last 24 hours. But
I know.
Hold on, Wolfcat. Carl, please.
So listen to Bernard Manning being represented after his death on a show, which was a BBC production, I believe, with Mike Reid, DJ from the 70s.
Yeah, that's right.
He's been done for paedophilia and all the rest of it, got banged up for it. Cyril
was
Smith,
he?
Well, we all
hold on, whoa. Hold on, Carl.
Like
Hold on. Okay, no. Hold on a sec. I'm missing something here. You're saying that Mike Reid was banged up for being a pedo?
Well, didn't Mike Reid do time for it?
He did time for it.
70s DJ, fiddling with people.
Did Mike Reid? I didn't know that. Okay. So he was on the same show as Cyril Smith, and they were talking about Bernard Manning. That doesn't mean that Bernard Manning was a pedo.
No, not at all. But why'd you get the two green on the show? Doing promotion about it.
Because, the argument is.
You could ever wish to meet.
The argument is, and the logic.
Don't laugh, joke about it. He's a bloody comedian. That's what comedians do. Comedians caught the celebrity spotlight. You know, the notion that somehow Prince Charles, because he's been photographed with Jimmy Savile, is engaged in some paedophilia ring is nonsense. I mean, I've got a huge list of telephone numbers in my phone. Are you trying to tell me that if one of those guys was convicted, someone on my phone, of paedophilia, that immediately implicates me as by way of friendship?
Oh, I mean, probably. It depends how tabloid you want to be.
No, I mean,
it only depends if you're getting a private jet.
Hold on a sec. Whoa. Carl, have the riposte.
If you're getting a private jet to your friend's private island, and we've got royalty who aren't even answering when they meet people like Jimmy Savile.
Well, hang on. We've moved from Bernard Manning onto Epstein. Do you know what? And I'll tell you what I find extraordinary about Epstein.
Did you ever fly on the Little Litter Express, Rodders?
No, but I tell you what. Having spent some time in prison myself, what I find extraordinary is that the initial pathology report found that he had bones in his neck that were broken.
That's right.
Now, if you top yourself, and I've experienced, obviously not personally, but
hold on, this is a sexual thing, isn't it? Carry on.
No,
we've heard about this.
That's not funny.
You hang yourself in prison.
Okay, I'm
It's
sorry.
not like it's not a drop hang. You don't break the bones in your neck. It's a ligature hang where it cuts off the blood supply. You don't get the same damage.
Kate, you're absolutely it's a strangulation suicide, not a broken bone suicide, and that's what actually. When I read the report, on the inside of a cell, a max security cell, and I've been in one, so I speak personal experience, you do not have any lever that you can actually attach a sheet or a towel to where you can drop yourself. It is strangulation, and that's not break bones. It's a strangulation anyway. That's what I find. Running Piers with your conspiracy sort of theory. That's what I found really odd, having read it.
Wasn't he supposed to have paper sheets?
No.
It's not supposed to be possible to hang yourself with a paper sheet because it's a bit like trying to hang yourself with Andrex or something. And you've probably got like a puppy Labrador there licking your face whilst you're trying to top yourself. It's not going to happen.
You said the light on the door.
Yeah, sorry, all the video cameras down. I mean, he was taken off a suicide watch. The whole, I mean, even the pictures of him in the gurney, he's still alive. He's still alive. He's on some probably,
How often do they get watched? Because I imagine when they're in their cells, somebody has to go and check on them every so often. They'll be
10 minutes.
Every election time.
You must admit the whole thing is deeply suspicious. I mean, we cannot deny that, the cameras are down and
you don't think that it was Clinton's, do you?
with the guards and all the rest of it. The whole thing is just stinks of conspiracy. It really does.
The thing is like count, right? When these things happen, we are asking as people, why don't the government put a foot down on it and say, wait, this needs investigation, even if it's in our own midst. And the people that we knew, why can't you do that? That's what we're asking. And then more and more here turns off, we need to
that would be far too logical, Wolfcat.
If you were on a lock level from the people. That is the answer that we want to understand,
Okay,
not your people anymore.
No. You can't have people like you running the world. It would all work.
No, hang on, Ollie. I'd like to respond with a specific example, which was a public inquiry that was absolutely whitewashed. And that was the inquiry in the Iraq War that actually
9/11 as well.
Well, okay, let's come back to the Iraq War and Tony Blair.
Yeah. War criminal. And Ali Campbell, who was on the BBC earlier, telling us what a bunch of anti-democratic, fascist, right-wing, xenophobic bastards that we all are. Only killed 1 million people. I mean, hey, is it Ali Campbell? God bless you, mate. Lovely. It's only 1 million people. It's fine. 1 million people dead. That's fine, mate. No worries. You shouldn't have been strung up by a rope. No. It's all good. Tell us about why we should have another people's vote when we already had one in 2016. Sorry,
what's
go on.
your name? It's Kate.
Carl.
Yes. Nice to meet you. I'm looking for a people. Phone might die otherwise. I think this one works.
Hold on, we got echo. Oh no, we've got echo. Oh blimey, we've got echo.
Yeah, that's on me,
Should we get off Peter and go back to politics?
No, well, it's all the same thing, isn't it? It's the same thing.
Well, it is, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, I do believe that it's used as a tool to drive politics. Yeah, but look, we're getting bogged down in Epstein and kiddie fiddling.
No, we're not. I mean, the thing is, it's a big jigsaw, isn't it? That's the bottom line.
I do believe that. Jigsaw. I mean, we've said this millions of times before on your show, but there is evidence there. The
thing is, Mr. Viscount, right?
Yeah.
We are doing our hardest to try to understand the decisions you are making for us.
Me? I didn't make any decisions for you.
The politicians' decisions that have been made for us. but it doesn't reach us anymore. This is the problem we have. Do you understand where I'm coming from? You talk to us, and I hear this, and mainly from the realms of the EU, and you know, and all sorts of politicians. They're talking about the people. We need to take the people with us.
That's always been a great
Don't explain where we are supposed to go.
Wolfcat, that's always been a great...
We may not like to follow you, and this is the problem, right? We are paying you to do our job for us, and not the other way around. And this is what you need to get into your heads. Well,
it's been a perennial problem in politics.
That's a perennial problem, is it really? An ever-growing back plant? No, I'm not a perennial problem. This perennial problem existed forever. You just do not get it into your head.
Who doesn't get it? Who doesn't get it? He's only another bloke. Hold on a sec. Don't give him a hard time. He's only another bloke.
Hold on. Ollie, I can't hear a word you're saying. Your mic keeps cutting out.
Oh, for crying out. Oh, no. Oh, never mind. I wasn't saying anything worthwhile anyway. Oh, right. Okay, good. Carl Millench, what do you think about this? Do you think that Jimmy Savile, I don't know. I mean, do you think that Jimmy Savile and Epstein were basically the same kind of people?
Kind of. Both.
Well, Epstein worked for Mossad.
Friend of.
Well, maybe they both were. Melange, are you awake? Are you still there? He called in, didn't he? He called in. I don't know. He's gone.
You work for Mossad.
Okay.
I think Epstein worked for Mossad.
Ollie, I'm here.
Right. Okay. Carl, I've got a question for you. Yeah. What's your take? I don't know how much you've been following this, but I'm kind of keen to hear what a regular bloke.
Between the computer and my son listening and me listening, and it's getting confusing.
All right. So tell me. This Epstein character, this Savile character, it seems to me that they were both in the same game, that they were both there somehow in the bribery business, in the bribery blackmail business, a bit like Tim Fortescue, yeah? That whip, Ted Heath's whip, who was Ken Clark's colleague. Hold on, Ken Clark's colleague in that government that took us into the EEC, and he admitted, did Tim Fortescue, he admitted that they bribed MPs that were depraved, that raped little boys, children, that raped them, instead of, banging them up, getting them and reporting them to the police and all that, having them put away. They would cover up. Hold on, Piers, hold on.
Somebody had a problem with debt or little boys.
Exactly, that's right. That's right. It amounts to the same thing. And he said we would cover up their crimes in exchange for them to vote with the government, to support the government that took us into the EEC. And I wonder if Savile wasn't in the same business and that Epstein wasn't in the same business.
Do you not believe in this, Rod?
Okay, no, hold on. I'm asking Melench. I'm asking Carl.
You've asked me the question. Nobody else here tonight. I know it's have a beer tonight.
Go on.
Let's carry on.
There's
a reason why Andrew was there, isn't it?
Hey?
If you got a headache in the morning and things are feeling wrong, you take an Andrews. You got an Andrew. Prince Andrew's there.
Okay, you're just
at the same time as everybody else, even Savile at there at the same time. Come on, think about it.
Yeah, what a let off. You mean like, the royal bloke can get you off?
You've got nice skin, Kate.
I think the CIA are doing their best
happened
job
as well.
No,
Piers, stop talking about Kate's boobs. Look, so it happened as well, didn't it? It happened. That actually happened because the judge said that Virginia Roberts. The judge said in 2020. Oh, for crying out loud! Stop being a bloke. He said the judge said that the Virginia Roberts testimony was impertinent when she mentioned that Prince Andrew basically screwed her at the behest of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, who for some reason hasn't yet been taken into custody, by the way.
Is this the same? Is this the same girl who's in front of Naomi Campbell while they're in one of the clubs in America? And Epstein's there showing her off in front of.
That's right. She worked in Trump's Mar-a-Lago and was found there by Ghislaine, who said, "Why don't you, work for my governor?" And she started then doing some massaging for Jeffrey Epstein, which apparently involved all sorts of toys. And then before you know it, she reckons she was involved with the Queen's favourite son, who was like next to her in the royal limo the other day.
So it's the same people know Cyril Smith. No.
TV.
I'm only stating the facts, Kate. Sorry, go on.
Well, it's the same people, isn't it? Can you see what I mean? Yeah, he painted the Queen, didn't he?
He what? He did what to the Queen?
Yeah.
He painted her.
He
What, body
did.
paint?
It was a rubbish portrait as well.
That's Rolf Harris you're talking about. Rolf Harris painted the Queen.
Can you see what it is yet?
Oh, he was a...
I know a girl. Rolf Harris,
one of the things I read, and I don't know how straight it was, but even Princess Di didn't like to be with Jimmy Savile. And he used to grab a girl's arm, even on TV. And
He was their marriage counsellor.
All the way up to the top of her shoulder. It's one of these things. When we were younger. But hang on, love. I don't mind talking while you interrupt me. But we all remember being younger. I'm 50 now. And being younger at the age of 10. And your parents would be saying, will you shut up and listen to me for 1 minute, please? I'll turn off in a minute, but just let me talk. Yeah, we all went to the party where your parents and your kin told you, be careful of Uncle John because he's touchy-feely. And that was back in the 60s and 70s. Yeah, you were told, there's always that one who's obscure person.
And that was just the corgi.
That happens in every single family. Yeah. Whether it's a royal, an MP, a prime minister, it happens naturally in society.
I understand. I understood.
Power against you.
I understood.
Society.
Carl.
Hello, Olly.
Hold on.
To say that,
Wolfcat. One sec. I understood that Jimmy Savile was the marriage counsellor to that Charles idiot bloke, that bloke that likes to put a leak in his lapel, and Diana. I understood that Savile was their marriage counsellor.
What?
Yeah, that's what he said in the Daily Fail. I mean,
Nolan.
I don't know. Maybe he didn't fix it for them, did he? Didn't fix it.
Jimmy Savile, whose reputation preceded him to the point where people would warn them that he was a bit touchy-feely with kids. I mean, I've got a friend, Mark, and he used to work for the BBC when he was much younger. So, you're talking like a good 30, 40 years ago. And he said, Jimmy Savile was known then as being, into young girls, underage girls. So it begs the question, how did this man then worm his way into, the high echelons of society, get it covered up for so long? I mean, I believe the man was actually made some sort of hospital director of Broadmoor at one point.
He was. Edwina Curry sorted that out.
Well, Kate,
Currygate.
Kate used the operative word. The word was worm. They don't reveal themselves. It's all about camouflage, disguise. And of course, you've got this very eccentric bloke, now then, who raises a lot of money for charity. And now that is a very good cover if you're in his game. Unfortunately, and decent people, generally give other people the benefit of the doubt.
Come on, everybody knew he was a bloody fiddler for years. It was all. I used to work in the media. It was all over that he was a fiddler. I mean, it was all over the place. It's just that nobody actually bothered to talk out. because he was very powerful. No?
No. You say powerful.
What did he know that made him so powerful?
Actually,
because
he was
that's the only thing that I can see him having that would give him any leverage to stop him being prosecuted. I mean, was he aware of other high profile people that were engaging in similar activities with underage children? I think that's a high likeliness, and that's the reason why he never faced justice, and it only came to light in the public domain after he was dead.
I don't agree. I tell you why. I have a number of friends who shifted from careers in the army into Scotland and police, and I can guarantee these guys would have absolutely no taste break rank, regardless in respect of this type of offence. What by saying high level conspiracy, what you're doing is condemning all the DCC people who high rank, and you're suggesting that they would break every tenet they hold true, they fought for. They would still kill themselves rather than not.
And police officers and police target rape with children Muslim men. That for me, you start to doubt whether your police force...
I'm going to interrupt. Sorry. I'm going to interrupt, Ollie. You got echo, mate. You can hear anything. I'm turning off again.
Okay, all right. I've sorted the echo. I'm sorry. Look, I want to just take a little bit of time out here.
Ollie, I'd like to respond to Kate. And she's raised something which is actually a current project of mine.
Without an echo.
I can't reveal too much of the background, but the interesting point...
Reveal it. Go on. Spill the beans. Let's get sued.
Is that you bring up the Rotherham and the Bradford grooming gang cases, and you've got almost 200 people who've been convicted. That's a big number for what are relatively small communities. Isn't it interesting?
2,000 girls. 2,000 girls, Rodri. But carry on.
Ollie.
It was covered up for years, and the orders to do so came from the top rank. They were told to ignore it.
Is it 200 convictions, though? Is it really that many?
Over 200 convictions.
Blimey.
Now, the point being is that one of my current projects, as I was sort of mentioning earlier...
Are they all Pakistani, or is that some sort of an ethnic slur?
No, it's not. In actual fact, but the point being,
what is interesting is all Pakistani.
Hang on, Ollie, back up there, please.
Well, that's curious. I'm curious, but carry on.
Well, the point being is, if you take London as having one of the densest populations of that profile of the grooming gangs, and yes, the majority of them convicted are of Asian descent. London has not had the same breakthrough or investigations into the grooming gangs. So, Kate, what you say is absolutely correct. But I think with a bit of luck, over the course of the next couple of years, you'll see some convictions which actually will make Rotherham and Bradford look like a walk in the park.
Yes,
I hope you're right.
It does kill public opinion that, the officers, even in Scotland Yard. I mean, I find it difficult to believe that they were unaware of somebody like Jimmy Savile. With the amount of victims that he had that had spoken out, that they were completely unaware of his activities.
Well, Savile spent 11 years.
Then they need better intelligence officers. That's a fact. If somebody could be that well known amongst his own colleagues for being a paedophile and Scotland Yard don't know, then I suggest they find new jobs.
Savile spent 11 years going to Chequers with Thatcher. I mean, he'd spend New Year there every year. Are you telling me that the Secret Service didn't fact check these people before they got heavily involved with prime ministers and the royal family? Come on.
Piers, you'd be amazed.
Really?
I promise you. My father was a government minister in the House of Lords. He was a Lord in Waiting to Her Majesty. Along with his a handful of other colleagues, and he was in the Whip's office, and there were some people who managed to wheedle their way in to the House of Lords and have access to government ministers, And, the vetting process, in actual fact, that there is not much of a hurdle. What we assume is sort of SAS society it doesn't function like that.
It doesn't really exist.
It doesn't really exist. We assume it does because of what we've seen on TV. It does not really exist until you get into a very high-profile situation, for example, Trump and Her Majesty, etc. Then the vetting all of a sudden goes up a shift. But there are several gear changes before you get into top gear.
Okay, I've got a question. Why? What? I mean, was MI5 asleep with this Charles Savile, Andrew Epstein? Was MI5? Are we supposed to believe that MI5 was asleep?
No, hang on, Ollie. You've got to understand, what the remit of MI5 is, and it's not to chase paedophiles. They have no bloody interest
to protect the royal family.
Well, hang on. No, that's not their job either. Their job is domestic security.
And what's the
not
difference?
Not to chase paedophiles or criminals. That's a different hat. You've got to understand the remit of MI6 and MI5, neither of which is to keep tabs on Ginny Savile or Epstein.
Well, who shot Jill Dando then? I mean, who do you believe took her out? Because I don't think it was Barry George. I mean, like that.
Well, he's been exonerated.
Maybe it was Barry Gardner.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't.
Barry Gardner.
They blamed it on some local idiot, and he was banged up for years and then got exonerated. I mean, who did take her out? She obviously knew something that ultimately got her doorstepped and killed. What was it that got her murdered?
Well, hang on. You've leapt several stages.
Can I speak? Ollie, can I speak?
I hope you do. I hope you do.
It's back to Carl. It's back to Carl again. Jill Dando was met by a guy at a front door who grabbed hold of her head, pinned her down to the door, and shot her through the head with one shot and walked off. Okay, that's what actually happened to Jill Dando.
Yes, yeah, we know that. I mean, but that sounds like a professional hit, doesn't it? I mean, that sounds like a hired assassin who was told to go and doorstep her, take her out, and walk away.
Alternatively, actually, if you look at profiling, it's a very difficult one to say. Oh, automatically that's a professional hit. There are a lot of weirdos out there who take it upon themselves to knock out a celebrity. If you look at the guy who topped, who's the Beatle who got shot in New York?
George Harrison.
John
Lennon.
Lennon.
George Harrison John Lennon.
John Lennon. You know what? If he walked away, and he wasn't caught, people would have gone, oh, conspiracy. It was an assassination. When of course it wasn't. It was some nutcase who just wanted to top a celebrity for whatever crazy reason. Broadmoor's full of them. You've got to keep an open mind, I think. And, on an evidential basis, there's nothing to say there was a hit.
No, you're right. On an evidential basis, everything we're saying is just supposition.
It is. And you know what? And when you go on supposition, actually, one's blinding oneself to, in actual fact, alternatives, which one should be open to until those avenues are closed down.
I do wonder if my cynicism sometimes has got the better of me. And that's why it's so interesting having dialogue with somebody like Rodders, because he, as much as he's the sort of bad boy,
he's establishment. He's
done time and all the rest of it. But he's quite well connected, and he knows how these people think, and I also get the impression that you're genuinely quite an honest person. So, which I respect and appreciate. That's why having somebody like you on the show like this is really useful, because it does give us some insight, and it does make us question our degree of cynicism. It all boils down to sort of
Piers is such a sycophant. I tell you what.
I mean, I'm not going to be too much of a sycophant, but it's just sort of.
Let me carry on.
Go on, but I still believe in what I believe. I still believe the whole.
You're welcome to believe what you believe, even if it's a lot of old crap.
But it also, I think it's also fair that we question, the conclusions that we've come to, because a lot of what we are talking about tonight is based on supposition. I mean, if there isn't any hard evidence,
especially the stuff that you're saying.
What?
Yes, that's true. It is. It's based on supposition. That's true. I
mean, there is a lot of circumstantial evidence to suggest that what we might be talking about might have some legs. No question. However,
where's Kate gone?
Where's Kate gone?
She's gone down the pub, hasn't she?
Alternative possibilities to any given situation.
Let me give an example of supposition.
Kate, there's something on your monitor. I think you need to lean forward and pick it off the screen there. There's a little bit of something.
Kate, go and put an anorak on.
Okay, I've got a question. I've got a question for Kate.
Sorry, Kate.
I've got a question for Bubba Kate Paris here. I would like to know what happened. How corrupt is the UKIP NEC?
Well, I don't think it's necessarily the individual members. I think you've got a select few people that have some things that they need to answer, probably to the bodies that are going to be investigating them. But I would say there has been a level of corruption that is unacceptable, in my opinion. I believe that UKIP has been using its members as cash cows and treating them very poorly, whilst treating some people in the party like it's a cash for cronies schemes on massive salaries with lots of unreceipted expenses and people being bumped up lists. I mean, I don't know whether people remember at certain times when, you get somebody who would be the candidate for every by-election that came along. I don't know whether any of you remember who that was, but these sorts of things. I've had to pass on the details now to the ICO, the Insolvency Services, and Action Fraud. So I don't know how much of the evidence I can actually put out there until they've done their investigation.
Quite right.
However, I've been forced to do what I've had to do. One, UKIP's been fighting off insolvency really since about 2016, and the only way that they got away with it in 2018 really was, one, because of the membership donations, 2, because of a legacy, and 3, because there was a viable funding plan. UKIP was doing well, but now they don't have those things. Most of the donors are going, like the membership is falling, branches are closing, there isn't a lot of confidence in the party at this point in time. I mean, there's a lot of infighting that's going on. There are investigations that were ongoing before I had to report, which I legally had to do as one of my duties as a director. You see, even as an NEC member, obviously your primary concern is making sure that you govern in the best interests of the party and its members. However, whenever a company is on the brink of insolvency or insolvent, a company's director has a duty to those creditors more, and it overrides actually normal company law. So, unfortunately, UKIP's found itself in a very messy situation, and even though I did try an awful lot to resolve some of these issues, it didn't really happen. So,
are we going to see an improvement, Kate? Are we going to see an improvement, or is UKIP a lost cause? Because it seems to me that the problem with UKIP over the course of so many years now, certainly since Farage left, is that the NEC, and possibly while he was there too, in fact, probably actually, is that the UKIP's NEC has just been running the party into the ground and has just ruined the party systematically and has made it almost an unusable party from the point of view of the membership. Can that change? Can that change under Richard Brain?
Oh, well, their actions recently, obviously, I would say have been at odds with what they're supposed to be doing. At the end of the day, they're elected to represent the members, and the members aren't really happy with what they've been doing.
They don't seem to care about the members. I mean, the members, apparently, the members wanted Gerard Batten to be the leader about now, and the NEC didn't give a damn about that. They don't seem to care about the members.
Well, sometimes it's a very difficult job to do on the NEC, because not only do you have to represent the members and their wishes, but you also have to represent the interests of the company and the party. And sometimes they're not privy to information.
What's the difference?
That would,
What's the difference?
maybe change their position on that. However, I think as a party that supports democracy and wants to leave elections open anyway, and you've defined the rules and the eligibility, you can't change that. That's a contract. So as soon as they messed that up, they had opened themselves up to litigation. What is kind of worse, though, is the fact that they may have had some grounds in which to bar Gerard Batten from standing. I didn't agree with it. I was the only member of the NEC left that voted against that motion until they kicked me off. The rest of the NEC that sat there all decided that they didn't really want to go with allowing the membership to decide themselves. But anyway, Gerard got added to Richard Brayne's ticket, as his deputy. Yeah. And Richard won outright with 53% of the vote. I believe that's the highest vote that, we've had in UKIP for a leader for a very long time. That's right. And he stood on a pledge.
Can I ask a question?
Hold on, Carl. One sec. Carl, one sec. Kate.
Bubba, a question to you for being UKIP representative on NEC and all the rest of it, even though you're saying just been kicked off. I get that. What do you think is the difference with the Brexit Party doing everything they've done, putting a place in people seats? Where are they getting the money from to actually put people in the seats, even if they are going to try the Conservatives? Now, we know it's the second Conservative Party, don't we? I understand that. I'm sure a lot of people are listening to. So where's the money come from? Because you haven't got the money. I know you haven't got it in UKIP anymore, but where's Farage getting his money from now?
Well,
to actually put all the seats in?
Until I've seen their accounts, which I don't believe I would do until they were published on Companies House, I wouldn't know exactly where their donations and
they will do it last minute anyway. However, but it's not Aaron Banks, is it?
They have some rather successful businessmen and people that are involved with that party, and also they don't exactly have a membership. They have a subscription, and I believe that they
a small
also
party.
had a bit of
is this history being made for a very small party, which they are? They've actually are gaining memento. I don't want to use that word because I don't like memento, but they are gaining momentum. Yes. And gain, where's all this money coming from? So to actually sit 300 people against the main seats, never mind what you can afford as a smaller party. The Lib Dems can't afford to do this. Where's the money? Follow the money. Where's it coming from?
Who'd want to fund the Lib Dems?
You might want to fire at them.
Who is funding them? Somebody's funding them.
That one, they have some very rich people. Two, they're very good at business. Three, I believe they've had some rather innovative, shall we call it, fundraising drives where people have been told that, if they pay a certain amount, they could get considered for standing for Parliament, but then haven't been able to, and I think they've kept costs down. I can't say exactly where their money's coming from, but I would imagine they've got multiple different legitimate funding streams to fund that.
Is it not the case, though, that people pay their own way? When somebody, for example, stands as a UKIP candidate for whatever, councillor, MP, whatever, do they not pay their own ticket as opposed to the party paying the ticket for them?
People do. It depends. Some people pay out their own.
Most of the time, Ollie, but you've got all the preparation and selling. You start a small business. It's advertising. You've got every advertising in every office.
Yes, sure. But you do that across the board, don't you?
Small donations. It's a lot of money.
Yes, it is.
Get branches. Sometimes branches will cover the deposit costs of candidates, and in certain elections, especially when it's one of their friends, they're more than happy to spend party funds on it.
But Bubba, go back to my original question. Is how can a small party like Nigel Farage, as a Brexit party, become so big to even do what they're doing?
Public dissatisfaction with.
It's basically a brand in himself. You look at their events, and I've seen photographs. They've got packed out halls. I believe that they charge people to go to that. Like I've said, they will have multiple viable and legitimate fundraising streams. I won't be able to say, because I'm not a member of the Brexit Party and I don't see their accounts, exactly where their money comes from. I can only speculate as to where it comes from,
we've got Daryl Goodliff on here in the comments.
Hi, Daryl.
Making one or two good comments from Kipper Central, and he says the Brexit Party are doing the job for Brexit, driving it forward by being a threat. And I totally agree with that. If it wasn't, I wonder if it wasn't for Farage holding Boris's toes to the fire and having held the Conservative Party's toes to the fire to the point that they had to get rid of Theresa May.
What happens if he splits the vote? Ollie?
What would have happened? Where would we be? Had it not been for that?
If he splits the vote now, Farage splits the vote, will be half in power, split and divide.
Yes, that's the other side of this coin, isn't it? That's the other side of this coin, and I agree that is a concern as well. And that's where we need, surely, to have cooperation between Brexit parties in the same way that in, Brecon and whatnot in Wales, the last by-election, we saw the Green Party and the Plaid Cymru, they stood down to allow the Lib Dems to win that seat. Whereas on the Brexit side, we saw Brexit Party and UKIP competing against the Conservative Party, who are all supposed to be on the Brexit ticket, and they accumulatively won more votes than did the winner, who is a moron. And so we do. We need to have. Whilst
Ollie,
go on.
Ollie, do you really think
you get the
Boris
picture?
is going to protect the right vote, which was to leave the EU constitution fully and restore what we have? And what is he going to restore it to? Similarly to what the EU was, Theresa May's deal, and replicate everything? Or is it going to go back to people's rights and legislation?
Hold on a sec. Sorry, you're talking about who here? But what, Boris's vision?
Well, Boris Johnson, is he going to follow Theresa May's white paper?
This is the question, isn't
and
it?
go for a vast-scale state without a island border?
I don't think he's going to go for any.
Forget about everything else. Or is he actually going to go for the full? What law he's going to give? Is he going to implement EU law here as a standard law and then change again?
All that we know for sure, that we can say for certain, is that he does not like the backstop, but he has intimated, he has almost said, I think he probably has said, that he's kind of happy. He has suggested at least that he's happy with the rest of the withdrawal agreement, which is entirely unacceptable, is it not? Okay.
It is. This is industry subject to ECJ laws, and therefore you aren't in control of your own country, your borders.
Okay, Rodders, maybe you would like to go into that, please.
I mean, the way that I see it, and again, it's a personal view. The likelihood, given the pressure that Boris is under currently, of the current Withdrawal Act being acceptable is almost zero.
What about without the backstop? What about without the backstop? Boris voted for May's deal Mark III with the backstop.
Well, do you know what? There you've got political game playing. I think the position he finds himself in now as Prime Minister is that just removing the backstop is not sufficient. He stated that actually we can save ourselves 30 billion quid. And if you look at the planks that have been put in place now, I think for Europe, all of a sudden, in the next 6 weeks, I think 63 days left to Brexit, something like that. 62.
Yeah, more or less, yeah.
They ain't going to back down. There'll be a last-minute scrabble ditch. And the point is that is likely to have to go back to Parliament, don't forget. And there is not sufficient time, given the suspension of Parliament. If you just look at the process that is required, he negotiates something else. He has to go back to Parliament. It comes back to good old Gina Miller, God bless her.
Who today is going back to court right today. Carry on, please. Carry on.
the point is that any amendment to the withdrawal agreement, which is an act of law, he's got to go back to Parliament. And by suspending Parliament, as he has done today, there's not sufficient time, regardless of how quickly they could emergency measures, etc. They simply haven't got the time to do it. We are destined now, I think, and I put it at odds of 80%, that we're leaving without a deal, which is absolutely the right way to do it.
Sorry, got excited there.
If you look.
Okay, everybody now can have a cheer. Have a cheer. Carry on, Rodders.
You were having a silent celebration there. Sorry.
Yeah. The point being is that if Merkel tomorrow, and the rest of the EU said, hey, guess what? We'll drop the Irish bit.
Yeah.
Action. There has to be something to replace the backstop deal, and that needs legislation. He cannot do it single-handedly because it's an international treaty which is cast in law. Gina Miller's precedent dictates that it has to go back to Parliament.
What you're saying is that they haven't got time to do anything, and therefore we're going on a no deal anyway. That's what you're saying, isn't it?
Yeah, basically. If you look at the parliamentary time available,
that's very exciting, sir.
after the Queen's speech, okay, let's try and race this through. There isn't sufficient time, and don't forget there'll be some Brexiteers in the parties that will have to be allowed. Well, you're a bit tired, Kate.
She is.
Long
I know. I'm going to stay on until about midnight, but I've got to pack. I'm supposed to be getting up early to get to Gretna Green for a wedding.
Really?
Gretna Green?
Gretna Green.
No, we're all going.
Proper old school wedding.
In 15 minutes, we're all
running away. Are they eloping?
They are. Well, we're all a little bit old to elope, but it's the spirit of.
Kate, you're never too old to fly.
She's only young.
How old are you, Kate?
No, actually, never asked that.
Piers is trying to pull her. I knew that would happen.
Too old at this point, but still getting ID'd for cigarettes, so I think I'm holding up okay.
So what's your take on that, Kate? I'm going to come to you in a sec as well, Piers, and we're going to wrap up. But, Kate, what's your take on that then, what Rod has just said? Would you tend to agree that basically we're looking...
Well, I believe that they were making moves to put into action to withdraw the 1972 Act. So, and I believe with what he's saying,
that
for 5
was a
weeks,
big thing, huh? That was a big thing.
I don't see how it can be anything but a no deal. I mean, I've been quite celebratory all day, and I've yet to find time to go off for a cocktail or a glass of champagne to celebrate. But I will do tomorrow. I'll be raising a glass, one to Holly and Chris, and another one to Boris and no deal, because I haven't managed to today. But I'm quite celebratory, and it's I'm not a person that likes to, what do they call it, count your chickens before they hatch. So I don't like to sort of celebrate a bit prematurely, but it seems like we might actually have somebody who maybe he's just doing it because he wants a name for himself, and like you say, the Brexit party, the leverage that they've put on them by taking away those votes, the Tory party are very much aware that if they don't deliver Brexit, that they are gone. They are not getting back into power for a very long space of time.
But the argument to that, though, the counter argument to that is that they don't
really
care.
Doesn't have the personality to just go, you know what, we're leaving, especially after today. I do like the fact that he's gone to the Queen and gone to these extents to make sure that we are going out. I mean, like you say, amendments would take time to go through legislatively and to go through different processes and the correct processes that would need to be done. So I think we are looking most likely at a no deal, but we will see. There are always things in the woodwork to throw spanners at us and make sure our plans get a bit messed up. But I think Boris knows what he's doing. I'm hoping that at the end of October, we're having a giant street party in London, like waving our flags about and thinking about, now we've got our sovereignty back, what are we going to do with all the traitors in Parliament?
Yeah, that's right, exactly. Absolutely.
Right. We've got a whole set of other problems to deal with if we do get out. I mean, like, we've clear house then. We really do.
By the way, Kate, one of the phrases that I think post the Epstein saga that one probably shouldn't use is, don't count your chickens before they hatch. It was a low ball.
Yeah, but if Brexit was like Epstein, then that would mean the EU would commit suicide, and that is a possibility that the EU might implode before we ever get Brexit.
We are
actually, many of us thought that would be the case. Eh?
I think Italy will want to leave next. Poland doesn't seem to be paying any attention to what the EU wants anyway. I can't see the Polish.
Yeah, the Czech Republic want to get out.
What about Ireland? Ireland might be alongside us pretty shortly.
And the EU economy survive without us propping them up, without our, donations and subscriptions and the constant taking money off us to prop up failing economies in Europe, to build like underground railways in Romania and other things when we don't have the infrastructure ourselves. I mean, what's going to happen from there?
It's unsustainable. Yeah,
well, I'd imagine once we pull out and Brexit's happened and we're no longer giving them this money. I mean, Boris has even said that he won't even pay them the divorce bill. I believe that Europe's threatening that they will not let us sign a trade deal until we pay that money. But how are they going to survive anyway if they don't have a trade deal with us, as we're their biggest customer?
That's right.
So
there is rumor that we're about to have the biggest.
With any balls.
Well, there is a rumor that we are about to suffer one of the biggest global financial crashes you can possibly imagine.
Piers, you're absolutely right. But hang on, let me just interject. Germany has slipped into recession. We've had a temporary blip.
It's
but
not slipped in, but it looks as though
Britain has the highest employment level since the Second World War.
Where?
We do.
We do.
Not where you are in Spain, Ollie. In the UK.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well, in Spain, it's bloody awful. The unemployment, absolutely abysmal. Okay. Yeah. And
what, me?
Yeah.
Or Kate?
Well, you're a good one, aren't you? But I've heard the.
Oh, hold on. What's going on there? Everyone's just cut off. Skype just cut off. Everyone just cut off. It all went tits up. What happened to that? Oh no, I need to sign in too. Oh, for crying out loud. Sign in? Right, okay. I was going to quit the show in 8 minutes time at the top of the hour, yeah? But, I mean, I don't like leaving people in the lurch and stuff as well. So let me just sign in and to Skype, which for some reason cut me off, which it has never done before, by the way. And find out what the deal is there, but and pull these people, try and pull these people back in. But to do that, I need to get my password for Skype as well. In the meantime, you've got the inane grin of Piers on the screen, the Viscount looking fairly dapper, and Kate looking rather lovely. So anyway, let me see if I can. Oh, for crying out loud! What is it? Skype. Yeah. I use LastPass as my password manager, which is awfully exciting to know. I'm sure you're extremely excited to know that. LastPass is really good. Really good. But I have to look in and find it because I've got about 64 characters on. Right, so I need to join this call now. They probably don't even know that they're not still on. So now I press join, do I? I don't know, I've never seen that before.
Yeah, no, we had him on Ollie's show, actually.
Oh, Ollie's back on.
Yeah, we did.
Hey, folks.
I managed to blag getting him on, and he was very informative, actually. I mean,
who was
he's
that?
a good. I
Who,
like
Piers?
it. I mean, to talk about the demise of UKIP.
Rolf Harris?
No, not Rolf Harris. I mean, we're talking about the reasons why UKIP has ultimately failed. I think the reason why Farage and Fowler
there's an echo.
ultimately because of the racism.
Oh no, we haven't got echo again, have we?
Piers,
that'll go.
Like
That'll go. That will go.
It will go.
Okay, it's sorting itself out now.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
It only lasts temporarily,
that's a weird thing, but yeah.
No, but I think they stepped away, and this is something that Gawain said on Ollie's show when he came on, was that basically UKIP was just becoming labelled as a totally racist party, and I don't think, knowing Gawain as I know him, or Farage, although I've never actually met Nigel,
that they are racist. They're not. It's just that their party had become infiltrated by people who, we are a multicultural society. That is not going to change. We have to make that work. Yes, we have to be firmer with those that want to radically change, our way of life. However, we are a multicultural society, and we do need to make an effort and try and make that work. And UKIP, I think, failed. And the reason why Farage and his press secretary stepped away was because of racism, and they didn't want to be labelled with that. We can't.
Piers, I don't think it was necessarily racism. I think they just disagreed with the associations that the current leader was making at that point in time. I do believe that UKIP, in some ways, has tried to be as impartial in its views regarding ethnicity, nationality, race, these sorts of things. I don't believe they are fundamentally racist. I don't believe that UKIP.
No, I don't think they are really fundamentally.
However, last year UKIP got involved in the earlier parts of the year with Tommy Robinson and Gerard Batten. Now, when this was on the basis of equality under the law and people being tried fairly, I think that was, it's in UKIP's constitution to stand up for these things. So we were right to do that. But when it became a close association that was based more as a political allegiance with these people, that's where it overstepped the line. I mean, Nigel decided that he was going to go after he wanted us to call an EGM. Couldn't have called an EGM, because if we'd have done so, we'd have wasted 30 grand. And with Gerard's actual popularity at that point, it wouldn't have been successful. So there wasn't much we could do, but I knew that Nigel was very unhappy. And with Tommy's record, the problem is that businessmen would struggle, in some ways, or would lose contacts and networking opportunities from even being loosely associated, and it is a shame that in a democracy that, people have their businesses, their careers, and their livelihoods attacked for their political opinions. But it is a fact that this does happen. So a lot of people left because of that. And also at that point in time, I remember it was around Chequers and when the withdrawal deal that first went up for a vote. And Gerard Batten wasn't even discussing Brexit. He was just discussing Tommy Robinson. And then it was Tommy Robinson's been made an advisor. And then it was Tommy Robinson is funding this UKIP event. And I think it was just, one thing after another. There was a straw that broke the camel's back, because people, there was a large portion of the membership that didn't agree with that. But there also was a large portion of the membership that did. And
well, it plays into this whole sort of political correctness thing that's making the headlines these days. I mean, what can we or can't we talk about? And quite frankly, we should be able to talk about whatever we bloody want.
Piers, I'm glad you brought that up. One of the origins or expressions of political correctness was an exchange of correspondence between General MacArthur and President Truman at the end of the Second World War, or towards the second end of the Second World War.
Perfected political correctness. Well, no, he sort of incubated it, and Tony Blair perfected it.
Yeah, well, MacArthur was saying, how do we deal with these?
Straight on to Tony Blair and Peter Mandelson. Carry on.
Hang on, Ollie.
And Campbell.
This is a historical reference, and the letters have only just come to light.
Right.
The correspondence. MacArthur said, "Well, how do we deal with these yellow people?" And
the Chinese.
Truman wrote back. Truman wrote back, and he said, "You can't say it. It's politically incorrect." And General MacArthur wrote back saying, "What does political incorrect mean?" And Truman wrote back in a private note saying, "Picking up the clean end of a piece of shit." That's what the president wrote to his most senior general in the Second World War.
That's about right. God. Picking up the clean end of a piece of shit.
That one.
Right, okay, we've got a call coming in. We've got a call who hopefully is more decent and politically correct than any of us. Hello, good evening. You've phoned into the Daily Chaos. Good evening. What would you like to say, sir or madam? And by the way, you've got 30 minutes to say it. I mean, seconds.
30 minutes?
Seconds. God bless you.
That's what I want to do.
Hello. Where's he Go on.
Hello.
Hello. Yes, hello. You've called
Hello.
in to Daily Chaos. Good evening. Hello. Hi. It's not Anna Soubry, is it?
There's nobody there, Ollie. There's nobody there. The political correctness software that you have on your computer has obviously...
There it is.
The filters, this bloke's gone through the filters.
No, they're here now. Anna Soubry, we're taking your call. Anna? Hello? Good evening.
I'd imagine Anna Soubry is probably in bed crying herself to sleep right now.
No, it's Dominic Greaves.
Drinking
Dominic Greaves called in.
Lefty tears.
Dominic, hello, good evening. You've called into Daily Chaos. What would you like to say?
Is that Dominic Greaves?
Dominic, how are you? We're going to vote you out in Beaconsfield, you sod.
He was deselected. Why is that man still an MP? His local constituents told him to bugger off, and Theresa May stepped in and said, "Oh no, I like that man because he's another moron like me."
I want to show you a meme I did of him. Hold on.
Okay.
Carry on.
Who just called in? Would you like to say anything? Good evening.
I think they might be having technical
They
difficulties.
probably are, and I can't say I blame them either. Right, you know what? Is that I'm gonna finish this because I don't know about no. We're gonna let Piers show the picture that he took of his penis earlier, and then wrap up the show. But I want to say it's been wonderful hanging out with you, and it's been a great day. It's been an exciting day. This, it seems to me, is the most important day we've had politically from the point of view, from the perspective of democracy, that we have had since the day of the referendum. What would your reflection on that be, Kate?
Oh, I found today really, I was having a good morning anyway, but when I heard that Boris was going to be asking the Queen to suspend power, I was like, is he going? And I was thinking, well, she can't not do it. The PR that the bad public rap that she'd get if she didn't go through with it.
Constitutional crisis if she didn't.
It would be.
The exactly. Thing that I saw was the fact that every little news clip that I've seen is some sort of Remainer going, "Oh, my democracy, respect
it's wonderful, isn't it?
Where has your respect for democracy been over the last 3 years?
Yeah,
where has your respect been for the 17.5 million people that voted to leave the European Union? Why are you suddenly talking about the subversion of parliamentary democracy when you've been subverting the democratic rights of the people you're supposed to represent for the last 3 years?
Here we go. This is it.
Hang on.
Hold on. This is Dominic Greaves' Willie.
Can you see
that's
that?
Dominic Grieve in Beaconscott. Is that hold on. Is that Dominic Grieve in Beaconscott?
Can you see Dominic Grieve? Yeah, he's got his all his bits on a pole.
That's Dominic Grieve in Beaconscott, which is a little model villagey type place.
I don't know if you can see that. No, that's Beaconsfield Village.
Beaconsfield, you need to do.
I think we will get a no deal, then a general election, and get to kick out the traitors. Wouldn't that be perfect?
Can you see that? Yeah. Does that work?
It's a little bit too bright. See somebody in the corner of the poster.
A bit bright, Rodders.
It is a bit bright.
I'll read it to you. It's a picture of Catweasel.
Catweasel,
who's asked for an audience with Her Majesty to discuss his policies, and says, "Please stop Boris." And it's got a picture of the royal family laughing, and the caption is, "Bet you wish you'd sang God Save the Queen now, you cunt."
Aye. Right. Okay.
That's another 4 weeks for me, but see you in 6 if I get out on good behaviour.
Okay, hold on. Oh, right. I was going to leave it there. But somebody's just called in. What would you like? Can you hear us? Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening. What would you like to say? Oh, that was Kate.
That was me. Yeah. Sorry, I'm confusing things.
Oh,
are those real pearls, Kate? Or are they?
These ones aren't. No, they're too uniform to be real. These ones are glass.
No, you're right. They are. Yeah. No, you're right. They haven't been
the real
plucked
pearls
out.
aren't as uniform.
Oyster shell.
But I snapped 2 pairs. I love pearls, but they're the ones, I've got ones that are multi sort of coloured. I've got a purple one, and ones that are pink, but I haven't actually got white pearls at the moment. Not ones that sit here and they have to sort of like sit in this.
Yeah, you don't wear those big ones like Theresa May, I'm glad to see. I mean,
no.
she goes.
Well, she does that to cover up the fact that she's just
chunky
I don't
necklaces.
know.
Yeah.
She does. You know how to tell real pearls from man-made.
No, you don't. Well, I mean,
hold on a sec. Let's not go down that road. Let's not go down the pearl necklace man-made route, please. It's not even midnight. It's just barely gone midnight. Yeah, I knew Piers was going there. It's just bloody typical, isn't it?
I don't mean to flirt with your guests, Ollie.
I tell you what,
I can't help myself. She's gorgeous.
You'll go. I knew you'd be on the case. I knew he would be on the prowl. She's a married woman.
Here's looking at you, Kate, in your lovely frock.
Cheers all. Celebration time.
I will speak to you again soon, guys.
Cheers. All the best. Ciao. Ciao, everybody.
Right, that's it. When we get Brexit, I'll come back. No, I'll be back soon. Within, I don't know, a month or so. Maybe a week. It shouldn't be long. Daily chaos is well on the way. Just had a bit of a, hiccup here and there. Like earning money. Trying to wake up. It's a, lack of coffee. But anyway, yeah, right. So today was a special day. And we barely slagged off, let alone libelled Anna Soubry. What a lucky old crone. Ken Clark, he got off lightly. Barely mentioned Dominic Grieve. John bloody Bollocks to Bollocks Bercow, or whatever his name is. They all got off very lightly, I reckon. What a bunch of gits. Didn't even mention that Junker Junket with a W bloke. Right, so I want to say a big thank you to my guests. God bless you, Piers Garnham. Bubba Kate Paris, who's looking for a job because she just got kicked off the UKIP NEC because she's human. And Viscount St David's. Rodders! God bless you. And everybody that called in. Well, in other words, Carl and Wolfcat, because nobody else did. Oh, no. Blimey. Oh, we had more calls than that. Right, that's it. And thank you. Thank you for joining in tonight. And I'll see you soon, yeah? And God bless you. And Mark P. Conroy. God bless you, Mark. Thank you for calling in. I'll catch you soon. Take care. Here's to us. And bugger John bloody Bercow. Ciao. All right. Yeah, that's it.